আম, আমাদের সাথে রিসার্চ শেয়ার করবে শোভন রয় ইকোনমিক্স অ্যাসিস্ট্যান্ট প্রফেসর নেত্রকোনা ইউনিভার্সিটির। এবং আমাদের মাঝে শোভনের পেপার এবং রিসার্চ নিয়ে ফিডব্যাক দিবেন, কমেন্ট করবেন ম্যাডাম বনশ্রী মিত্র নিয়োগী। উনি হচ্ছেন কি ডিরেক্টর মানুষের জন্য ফাউন্ডেশন। তো আমরা আশা করি আহ, শোভন ভালো ফিডব্যাক পাবে এবং এই যে রিসার্চ সেটা আরো ভালো জায়গায় পাবলিশ করতে পারবে। তো আমরা আমাদের ওয়েবিনারের মূল পর্ব শোভনের প্রেজেন্টেশন শুরুর আগে আমি একটু অনুরোধ করব আমাদের র্যাপিডের ডিরেক্টর ডাক্তার আবু ইউসুফ স্যারকে কিছু বলার। থ্যাংক ইউ।
ইউ আর আনমিউট। আমি কেন শুনতে পাচ্ছি না ভাই?
জি, ধন্যবাদ ডক্টর দিন। আজকে যারা এখানে আমাদের যে মান্থলি ওয়েবিনার সিরিজ র্যাপিডের যারা জয়েন করেছে সবাইকে শুভেচ্ছা জানাচ্ছি। যেটি ডক্টর দিন বলছিলেন, আসলে এটি হচ্ছে একটা প্ল্যাটফর্ম যেখানে ইয়াং রিসার্চাররা তাদের যে রিসার্চ ফাইন্ডিংসটা সেটা তারা শেয়ার করবে। অনগোয়িং রিসার্চ হতে পারে এবং যে কোনো পর্যায়ের রিসার্চই তারা এখানে শেয়ার করবেন এবং আমরা হয়তো সেটা সেরকম একটা ডিসকাশন সেখানের মধ্যে আমরা করছি। তো আজকের টপিকটা খুব ইম্পর্টেন্ট একটা টপিক। আমরা দেখলাম যেটা রুরাল উইমেন অ্যান্ড চাইল্ড এডুকেশন ইন বাংলাদেশ এবং সেখানে ভ্যালুইং দেয়ার আনপেইড কন্ট্রিবিউশন। এটা আমরা জানি আসলে এই যে আনপেইড কন্ট্রিবিউশন, তাদের যে রিকগনিশন, তো সেই বিষয়গুলো কিন্তু আম, খুবই একটা ইম্পর্টেন্ট বিষয়। তারা কিভাবে কন্ট্রিবিউট করছে চাইল্ড এডুকেশনের ক্ষেত্রে, তো সেটি নিশ্চয়ই আজকে আমাদের যিনি প্রেজেন্টার শোভন রায়, আমি ওনাকে অভিনন্দন জানাই। এবং নেত্রকোনা অ্যাসিস্ট্যান্ট প্রফেসর ইকোনমিক্স এর পাশাপাশি আজকে যিনি ডিসকাশনটা আছে ওনার প্রায়োগিক যে বিষয়গুলো আছে, অনেক অভিজ্ঞতা আছে। যেহেতু মানুষের জন্য ফাউন্ডেশনে কাজ করছেন, পার্টিকুলারলি অন দা রাইটস অ্যান্ড গভর্নেন্স ইস্যুজ এর উপর, সেই ডিসকাশনটাও এতে আমাদের যারা র্যাপিডের যারা রিসার্চার তারাও বেনিফিটেড হবে, পার্টিকুলারলি ইয়াং রিসার্চার আমি জানি অনেকেই যুক্ত হয়েছেন বিভিন্ন জায়গা থেকে, তারাও বেনিফিটেড হবে। তো সেই দিক থেকে আশা করছি যে আজকের যে ওয়েবিনার এবং আম, এরকম একটা সময় হচ্ছে যখন আম, খুবই ইম্পর্টেন্ট বিষয় এই সোশ্যাল যে দিকগুলা, সেটা আশা করছি আমাদের আম, এটির যে আউটকাম, সেই আউটকামটা অনেক বেশি কাজে লাগবে। পাশাপাশি শোভন রায়ও তার যে ফাইন্ডিংসটা এটা একটা ভ্যালিডেট করার একটা সুযোগ পাবে। আপনাদের সবাইকে ধন্যবাদ। আশা করছি আপনারা সবাই এরকম মান্থলি যে র্যাপিডের ওয়েবিনার আছে সেটাতে যুক্ত হবেন। পাশাপাশি আমাদের ওয়েবসাইটটাও ভিজিট করবেন। আমরা অনেক কাজ করে থাকি ইন্টারন্যাশনাল ট্রেড, সোশ্যাল প্রোটেকশন, অন্যান্য বিষয়গুলোর উপর। সেখানেও যদি আপনাদের কোনো মূল্যবান মতামত থাকে সেগুলো আপনারা দিবেন। ধন্যবাদ সবাইকে।
থ্যাংক ইউ সো মাচ স্যার কমেন্টের জন্য। তো আমাদের মূল পর্ব পেপার প্রেজেন্টেশন এখানে শোভন ইউ উইল হ্যাভ অ্যাবাউট 20 মিনিটস ফর দি প্রেজেন্টেশন। তারপরে আমরা শুনবো বনশ্রী ম্যাডামের কাছ থেকে ওনার কমেন্ট, ওনার ফিডব্যাক 10-12 মিনিটের মতো। তারপরে আমরা এটা ওপেন করব, যদি কারো কোনো কোশ্চেন থাকে, কোনো ফিডব্যাক থাকে, সাজেশন থাকে, সেগুলো আমরা শুনবো এবং তারপরে আমরা র্যাপ আপ করবো। তো শোভন, প্লিজ টেক নেক্সট 20 মিনিটস অ্যান্ড শেয়ার ইউর প্রেজেন্টেশন।
Thank you, sir. Hello, everyone. Good evening. This is Shobhan Roy. I am Assistant Professor and Chairman of Department of Economics, Netrokona University, Netrokona. Actually, this is my pleasure that I have the chance to present my paper on this platform. I am very honored that I am presenting the paper on a webinar where the honorable moderator is my direct teacher, Dr. M.J. Din Islam, sir, Associate Professor, Department of Economics, Dhaka University, and Research Director, Rapid. Actually, I am little nervous though. I am also honored that we have our honorable discussant, Panasri Mitra Nyogi, Director, Manusher Janno Foundation, and I am thanking Dr. M. Abu Yusuf, sir, Director of Rapid, and I am again thanking Rapid for giving me this opportunity. Uh, Actually, let me share the slide. I think it is visible now.
Yes, Shobhan.
Actually, this it was the very first study I am conducting using primary data, and the research was funded by the research grant of Netrokona University, Rural Women and Child Education in Bangladesh, valuing their unpaid contribution. In this presentation, I will cover the introduction, literature review, objectives, data and methodologies, results, discussion, and then conclusion and recommendation. Traditionally, the status and role of men and women have changed a lot with social changes, encompassing women's increased participation in extraneous pursuit. However, the unpaid work remains more or less same for the women, but the traditional income accounting system does not consider it. And due to maybe it is perhaps due to the nature of the measurement or the definition of the economic activity. And for this reason, about one third of the valuable activity of this kind remain out of calculation. Women's role is vital in child educational and psychological development because they actually play a role in developing a language skill, social skill of a child. Women's role is very crucial in rural Bangladesh because we know in rural Bangladesh there is the lack of quality standard of educational institution. However, like unpaid family contribution, this effort remains out of consideration in national income accounting. Uh, why should we actually care about this? Because the contribution is significant as it plays a crucial role in building human capital, reducing the cost of education, and women could yield returns by investing this time in traditional labor market. And ignoring this contribution can promote production bias and income inequality. So, proper consideration of women unpaid contribution can help to eliminate gender inequality and ensure dignity in their family. This study aimed to quantify the economic worth of the contribution of women of rural Bangladesh to child education and identify the challenges to quality child education in Bangladesh from the perspective of women. Uh, when I was conducting research, actually there was not enough literature on this regard, but what we find there was three types of literature. Some of them tried to quantifying family unpaid labor, like Gianil in 2011, they using opportunity cost and market replacement method from European Survey of Income and Living Condition and harmonized European Time Use Survey, they showed that the estimated value of the contribution is 17 to 31.6% of the GDP of EU. Miranda in 2011, using a market replacement approach, showed that it is 19% of the GDP of Korea and 53% of GDP of Portugal. Uh, Budlender in 2008, using the same approach, showed that it ranges from 7 to 63% of the GDP of 7 nations. Some other literature, they try to quantify women contribution. Actually, they do not consider the unpaid contribution. And Vanderstapp and Trovato, they showed that married women contribute 22% to 38% of the total family income of Canada. Uh, Tuteja in 2000, using primary data, showed that it is approximately 16.97 to 34% of the family's gross income in Haryana, depending on the farm size. In 2017, Roy et al., using primary data for Mymensingh region, showed that women contribute to the family income 43.52%. And lastly, there was some literature that tried to quantify women's family unpaid labor. Singh and Mori in 1987, using implicit wage, which is alternatively called opportunity cost method, they showed that household unpaid labor was 38 to 61% of household income of rural Burkina Faso. And Shrestha in 2008, using market replacement method, they showed that it is nearly half of the GDP of Nepal. Uh, Considering this literature, we find that there is significant literature gap, particularly in context of Bangladesh. We find only a policy note by CPD, and actually we find no literature on regard to education. Considering all those facts, the specific objective of the study was finding the person playing the main role in the education of child, quantifying the contribution, finding the value of the contribution, identify the challenges from the mother's perspective in the provision of quality education to their child. The methodology, we used primary data for this research using a standardized questionnaire. We have collected data from 4 administrative districts: Borishal, Pirozpur, Sunamganj, and Habiganj. A pilot test was carried out in Dharmapasha and Agolzhara in December 2021, and the final survey was carried out in the mentioned area January 2022. The sample size was 50 after the data cleaning process, and the interview questionnaire includes the question about family head, their income, education of mother, the person primarily looking after the education of child, the time used by woman on the child of the family, and etc. We strictly followed all the ethical rules of the data collection, and oral consent of the participant was taken before the interview process. And to quantify, to value their unpaid contribution, there are actually 3 approaches: market replacement approach, opportunity cost approach, and individual function cost approach. Among these 3, 2 have some limitations. Opportunity cost approach has some theoretical and practical limitations, along with not reflecting market prices. And individual function cost approach has a serious upward bias problem, because actually we do not employ a single person for a single task. Considering those facts, market alternative approach is the simplest, and we find it suitable for this study. The basic formula for the approach was S equal to D times N, where S is the value, D is the average wage rate, and N is the number of households. But in our study, we use this formula: V equal T star times P, where V is the value matrix, T star is the adjusted time, and P is the wage rate. To find the adjusted time, we first consider some thing that should reflect the market price. As education is one of the determinant of market price, we give weight half of those who has 5 or less years of schooling, 2/3 of those with greater than 5 but less than 8 years of schooling, and more than who have more than 8 years of schooling, we weight them by 1. The respective literature and the weight was found from Mackles 2000. And the P was the average wage rate per hour per month. It was extracted from the interview process, where we use the tutoring cost. the result, we find that in 93% cases, fathers are the family head, and only 4.4% cases, mothers is the family head. And to see the occupation of family head, we find that in around 32% cases, they are farmer, then business, laborer, private job, construction worker, and government job. And their monthly average earning was 16,685 taka. To see the education of mother, we find that around 31% of mother, they have 0 years of schooling. That means we can tell them illiterate. And 29%, sorry, it is 14%. And in 31% cases, they receive up to 5 years of schooling. In 29% cases, they have less than or equal to 8 years of schooling, and secondary was 16%, and more than that was 10%. And to analyze their occupation, we find that in 88% cases, women are housewife, and other profession are given here. Then we try to identify the number of children. We find that the average number of children per household is 2.8, and in 61% cases, they have 1 to 3 children, and 24% cases, they have more than 4 children. And among those children, we find that the schooling is 43.68, college 11.19, university 7.7, madrasa 10.5. No education is 26.9. Actually, no education means they are actually not studying, or they are too young to go school. And then we try to capture who is the primary stakeholder, or who is the primary person who give time to their to the education of their child. We find that in 61% cases, mother played that role, and only in 6% cases, father is responsible to giving time, and 16% cases, both father and mother give time. And to identify the wage rate, we tried to capture whether there was tutor in their house. And in this case, we find that around 51% cases, they have tutor in their house for their children. The value, before adjustment, we find that 1.99 is the time the mother gave to to their child who are school going, primary actually, and 2.17 is the time they gave to the secondary school going children, and total time is 2.48. After adjustment, we find that the time to elementary was 1.9, and time to secondary was 0.6, and total time was 1.68. And after calculating the value matrix, we find that the average wage rate, average value per month is time to elementary is 1,242, and time to secondary is 683, and the total value is 1,926. After that, we have run some statistical tests. Mann-Whitney U-test was conducted to check the mean difference between the time given by the father and mother. The result is shown here. We see that the mean of the two group is 108 and 185, and it is the difference is statistically significant, as the p-value is nearly 0, or we can say it is less than 0.05. Then Kendall's Tau-B test was run to see the correlation between being a mother or woman to time allocation. And we find that it is highly significant and the p-value is less than 0.01. Then Spearman rank order correlation test was run to see the relationship between mother's educational quality and the education cost of child, and we find that it is highly significant. Actually, we have run this non-parametric test because the data cannot satisfy the normality condition. Then we included parts to identify the challenges, and the most reported challenges we find are the financial difficulties, the health status, educational qualification of mother, and time management. Uh, One contributing factor to this financial difficulties issue is that there is scarcity of institutional employment opportunities in rural region, uh, and there is high poverty rate in the research area, and the people are highly rely on agriculture. Consequently, the residents of both division experience financial instability. This issue is intensified by mother-headed families due to the gender wage gap in the traditional labor market and their inability to generate a high income due to the low educational status. Then the health status of both the mother and child is intricately linked to the financial challenges, as financial instability is a barrier to obtaining adequate food and purchasing sufficient sustenance. These make the mother's nutritional intake less, and that play a role in shaping her offspring's psychological and physiological growth. Food inaccessibility leads to bad health outcomes for mothers and thus for the offspring. And according to Banbase, the average schooling years of rural women are significantly lower. This statement holds true for the research area of what I have conducted. The insufficient level of education of these people is a significant determinant of their diminished income, leading to financial insecurity. And all these factors affect the time and quality of mother's effort by hampering the effectiveness of the time. And lastly, the time management problem. We find it is serious among women who are the household's primary earners. Due to the busy hours outside the home, managing time for their children is very difficult. We thoroughly investigate the factor, and we find that the engagement in contributing to their child education reveals that the mothers actually plays the primary role. And actually, we included a part in our questionnaire to capture whether other women in the family play any role to the education of child. But we find that they actually played not. They play a role, but it is not significant. And considering the contribution measured in the market replacement method, it is clear that the value is significant as indicated by the previous research, and it is 29% of rural females, 26% of the nation's female income, and 24% of the national income from employment compared to the LFS 2016. Therefore, mothers are not only contributing to their child education through their efforts, but also help to keep education costs low. The engagement of mothers is statistically significant, and the time and the education cost is correlated to the educational status of mother. Therefore, considering the role enhancing women education and addressing other challenges can ensure enhanced opportunities for the child education in the country. In conclusion, we can say that the finding of this study is that not other female members of the family, but mothers play the primary responsibility to the child education, and its value is nearly 1/4 of the total income of women derived from the employment. Therefore, including this value in the national income account can potentially increase its figure as identified CPT. Some goal-oriented comprehensive policy framework can address the identified challenges, like a mass program to increase skill and literacy will help the quality of the given time, and it will increase the probability of their employability. To help the health condition, existing program in rural areas can be extended and allocation in this sector should be increased. Other problems need strategic analysis to uncover the nature and intensity of the challenges to formulate a more inclusive policy to enhance education in rural Bangladesh. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shobhan. You are just on time, and thank you again for that. Let me now request our honorable discussant, Bonoshri Mitra Niyogi Madam. Please, if you can comment on Shobhan's research in next about 10 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you so much for inviting me to join this important discussion. Actually, I am not the researcher or the economist. I will try to give my comments from the social perspective. And for this discussion, how Manushya Foundation works on this issue, we started for the recognition of the unpaid care work in 2012. Still, it is going on because we started with the campaign, now then advocacy, and now then we are lobbying with the government. So we have some results after 10 years. So this is a very difficult issue, and it is very much a deep-rooted issue and deeply significant that the undervalue, and it is the invisible contribution of rural women in Bangladesh. Not only the rural women, also the urban women are also giving much time for their children. Rural women are directly involved for giving their education, and also the urban women also, which is maybe Mr. Shobhan's priority on this issue. But I must say, this is the powerful presentation on rural women and children education in Bangladesh. Definitely congratulations, Mr. Rai. And you shines the light on how rural women's vital time invest, particularly in their children education, and often overlooked and undervalued. And it has a economic value. You discussed on this issue about their income and challenges part of this. I think this is we call this the time poverty. Because of their unpaid care work and household work, women cannot get time to give more time in the economic sector. It is not only the economic sector. We define on the 5 aspects. One is the social, economic, as citizen, as person, individual, and also this is the part of the culture, and definitely it is the part of the politics in the patriarchal society. So in this connection, we do focus on 5R actually. We led the campaign on the equality through dignity in Bangla Marjadai Gori Shamata. That was mainly, we tried to focus, we have to recognition of this unpaid care work, and not only the education. We have a study with the CPD in 2013-14 fiscal year, and we have some value on this replacement and also a waiting list method they used. After that, we worked with the SANEM on the care economy and also on the satellite system of accounts, how it works on the unpaid care work issue, which is not reflected in the GDP, because we know the economic value, if it is not, we cannot measure the economic value, it cannot go for the SNA. That's why we are focusing on the satellite system of accounts to recognition of the women's unpaid care work. When we do the both study, we focus on the women's overall responsibility, household and care work responsibility. And you are very much correctly pointed that we don't have any separate research on only on education. Definitely. We did the research on education, agriculture, their care time on the children, old age, care, and also cooking, cleaning, agriculture, everything associated with this. So it is important to highlight this also, how we can focus on this issue. So I think your study is not just a study. Rather, I said as a call to recognize women's invisible burden also to push for the systematic change, and which is also very much aligned with the time poverty issue. That's why I want to focus on this issue. So whenever we talked about the recognition of this undervalued work, how it can be recognized through the policy, as you mentioned in your last part, policy, and also there is social recognition. It is work, and it is very important for the social dynamism. So women cannot be neglected for this unpaid work. This is one of the major issue in our country, not in our country, all over the world. Women getting the subordinate role in the society, and they are not living very dignified time and life in their whole life cycle. In your study, you reveal that the 61% mothers are the primary supporters in their children education, and average adjusted 1.68 hours every day, which is unrecognized. And you also focus on the market replacement approach. And I must say how we work on this issue, I want to focus CPD study. The CPD study is mainly the estimating women's care economic contribution to the economy. The case of Bangladesh, I think you also find this one. And based on that, we have long campaign and advocacy. After that, in 2021, Bangladesh Bureau of Statistics also took the responsibility for the time use survey. This is also, they followed the international, those standards and everything, and they published in 2023. So the both study focus the SNA activities. In the CPD study, they identified the SNA activities 12.1, and its value like that for the women's unpaid household works equivalent to 76.8 of Bangladesh GDP in the fiscal year 13-14, and equivalent to the replacement cost method, they identified the 87.2 based on the willingness to accept method. So it is the huge, and sometimes the economies did not accept that. We have also formed economic forum, and they said no, we have to rethink differently because it shows a huge number of the value of the unpaid care work. After that, we accepted and we tried to work on the satellite system of accounts. So, this is one of the things where we find that women are 3 times more than men are engaging with the household work. And another study also finds is 7 times higher than the men. 0.8 hours women are engaged in the time use survey. So what I want to say here that if we want to reduce the burden of the women's education work, and you also mentioned the level of the women's education level also impacted on this education, it is also important. You will find the non-formal, primary, higher, secondary, how women educational attainment contributed on this women's education, not in the focus, but in the women's care work issue. This is the time use survey. So, so my first one thing, the recognition is important. It is important work in the society because I'm not focusing on the economical perspective, rather on the social perspective. Second one is the reduction, which is very important, how we can reduce this burden so that it can be valued differently. So it is aligned with the gender responsive budgeting also. So we work with the different ministries to allocate money for this issue, for the child care, old age home, or others, children care, daycare, something like that. It is very important family approach to think government on this issue. Because due to that, women cannot engage with the social work, with the politics, with the economic, and even in the cultural activities. Sometimes they are educated now. Women are girls and boys are the almost same in the education level, but in the higher level they are low, and also their contribution in the society and the macroeconomy is getting down. So we have to rethink on this issue. Third one is the representation. It is, as you said, the primary responsibility of the women for the children education. So it have to the representation on the whole household works, not only the education. It is not the women's work. It is our responsibility. It is not only the women's responsibility, the household work, education, cooking, cleaning, everything. So we have to redistribution the job household responsibility so that it can be defined differently. Fourth one is representation. If we recognize this work, then reduction, then redistribution. So many women can represent in the social, economic, and other sectors in the society. If the 4R, we call it 5R. If we achieve the 4R, then women should be respected in the society, in the family, and in the workplace, everywhere. So these are from my time is okay. I will finish within a few minutes. So I want to focus on this issue, how we work on this issue. What should be our recommendation on this? I think from the government side, we have to raise voice to invest on the care infrastructure. Second one is expand social protection for the rural women, for unpaid caregivers, or some other facilities need to introduce. After this time use survey, now BBS is working for the satellite system of accounts, how it will be work, how they can value this unpaid care work. So it is also important how incorporate unpaid care work into the GDP calculation through the satellite system of accounts, not in the regular economic calculation. So if we encourage the investment in the care economy, care infrastructure, then maybe this redistribution and women's role should be changed, which is very much inclined with the gender division of labor. We must say this. So we have to promote the equitable distribution of care work. And finally, I must say, as you focus on the women's health also in the challenge, so investing in women's education and health for the time-saving infrastructure is also important, and supporting quality child education to build the future generation more strong and move fast in the future. Thank you so much. I'm stopping here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam. Correctly pointed out that household unpaid work, especially time spent on children, very important task for our human capital formation. But unfortunately, there is stereotyping in Bangladesh that this is women's work. We gendered this type of work. So I think this is a very timely topic, Shobhan, you have chosen, and you have done an interesting exercise. And I think your research actually nicely coincide with Women's Affairs Commission's report. They actually advocated some of the things you were doing research on. Uh, so I think you can actually, in the motivation part, you can actually uh, connect or relate your research with the findings or the recommendation of the Women Commission. I think that would be a very motivating fact that right now there's a lot of reforms are being undertaken, and one of them is uh, how to recognize the contribution of women to our economy. Thank you so much, Madam, again. Let me now ask anyone here has any comment or feedback, যদি কারো কোনো প্রশ্ন থাকে বা কোনো সাজেশন থাকে শোভনের জন্য আনমিউট করে জাস্ট কোশ্চেনটা জিজ্ঞেস করলে হবে। Any question or any suggestion for Shobhan to make his research more rigorous for the general public? Any question? Any comment? This is a very interesting research. I think many other young researchers can find it interesting to do further investigation on different other areas of the same topic. Yes, Jubair, please unmute yourself and ask a question.
Thank you very much, sir. First of all, congratulations to the presenter for his excellent presentation. It's great to see Bonusri up. I mean, we worked together a few years back during my stay at Sanem. So good to see you, Appa. Uh, in one of your slides, you mentioned that only a policy note by CPD is found for Bangladesh, right? And no work has been done regarding the unpaid family labor for women in Bangladesh. I think there is a small correction. I mean, Bonusri Appa has already mentioned. I mean, work was done, and this work was commissioned by Manushya Janma Foundation in 2019 on recognition of women's work. I have a very quick comment. I mean, in Bangladesh, particularly in rural areas, norm we saw during the COVID-19 pandemic a rise in the burden of unpaid work, especially on women. So in this context, it would be valuable to investigate how targeted policy measures and community level interventions can shift these entrenched perceptions, and promote greater recognition and redistribution of unpaid. So this is just a comment.
Many thanks, Jubair, for your feedback and comment. Any other question? So, Shobhan, you actually investigated a number of constraints for women to participate in formal labor market. Uh, but I think one important aspect why, even though in our education, if you can see the educational outcome in secondary or higher secondary level, there's no difference. Even even girls are ahead of boys. But when it comes to the university and then after university to the job market, female are not, you cannot find them. There are missing women. So I think important reason, in addition to like demand from the family of these unpaid family responsibilities, we actually failed as a state to create an environment, a safe and secure environment where female can participate in economic activities. Violence against women, harassment in workplace, those are still a big issue. We want to bring our women and contribute to our economy. But you can see that we are not very successful in ensuring a safe and secure environment, workplace environment for women. This is an important factor, I think, why many family is open to work for women, but they may not feel safe to send their women to work because the environment is not conducive for females. So I think if you can, I don't know whether it is possible to add to your research or you can think about. Any other question or comment before you go back to Shobhan for his story? Anything to say or any reaction to comments or feedback on comments made by our discussant, distinguished discussant? She actually gave a lot of perspective from policy and apply side, and also the question and comment by Dubai Hussain. If you have anything to say, please, free to have next 2-3 minutes.
Thank you, sir. Actually, I am very honored that I had this opportunity today. And actually, the ma'am who is she told it is very important. And the comment made by Jubair Bhai, I will try to find those work and I will revise my work according to the fact. And I will also include the report of the Women Affairs report. Thank you, sir, and thank you everybody for your participation and for hearing me and also giving me this opportunity. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you and congratulations, Shobhan, for a nice presentation. I think it was a good experience for you. And thank you, everyone. This is the platform we promote young researcher. Our objective is to connect young researcher with established researcher. And any one of you, if you have your research you want to share in our platform, please feel free to contact us. So before we end the session, uh, let me now request our Rapid Executive Director, Dr. Awis Sir, to make a final concluding remark. Sir.
হ্যাঁ দিন তুমি একটু শেষ করে দাও, আমি একটু ওই যে এনবিআর এর সাথে একটা কথা বলতেছি। হ্যাঁ, তুমি একটু শেষ করে দাও দিন।
Okay, thank you, sir. So thank you again, everyone. And I would like to invite you for our next webinar in May. Hope you join and support our initiative. Have a good night and thank you again for joining us today. Have a good night.
এনবিআর আর সেপারেশনটা ওই যে পক্ষাপক্ষে দেখে কোনো ফিডব্যাক আছে কিনা ডেইলি স্টার জানতে চাচ্ছি আর কি।